Freyja, the Shining One, the goddess of love and death in Norse mythology, is widely known for her beauty, her vast wealth, and her powerful magic. But what else did this deity have to offer? From a great hall to a magic necklace, here are 5 dark secrets of Freyja. Welcome back to another episode of our series where we take you back in time to bring you the best in historical tales. Today, we're discussing the lesser-known facts about the legendary goddess Freyja. So let's get into it. Number 5. Freyja received half of all warriors. Most people know that when a warrior died in battle, they had a chance to enter Valhalla, the great hall of Odin, where he would welcome them with open arms, feast with them, and send them back into battle again and again. What most don't know is that Freyja also claimed half of all warriors who died in battle, taking those she deemed worthy to her own hall, Folkvanger. It was said that Freyja walked among the corpses on the battlefield after the fighting had ended, picking out those she wanted with her. And when they awoke, they found themselves inside Folkvanger. Here, instead of sending them back to fight more battles, she feasted with them every day until their deaths, delaying their entrance to the afterlife. After receiving such an honor from the goddess of death, these warriors were said to feel no fear or sadness about their fate, knowing that they would be well cared for in Folkvanger until their eventual journey to the afterlife. In Norse mythology, Valhalla was by far the most well-known place that warriors could go once they had died in battle. But Folkvanger was by no means inferior. While Odin chose which warriors would come to him based on their fighting skills and bravery, Freyja chose those she wanted based on her personal preference. As such, there were those who believed that being chosen for Valhalla was much more honorable than being chosen for Folkvanger. However, since Freyja was the goddess of love, beauty, gold, and death, anyone who entered her hall would receive a feast fit for a god every single night, with many believing that her hall may have even been more luxurious than that of Odin's. Gnome 4. Her hall, Folkvanger, Revold Valhalla. If you thought Freyja's choice of warriors was surprising, wait until you hear about her hall. Located somewhere in Folkvang, or the Field of the Slain, was Freyja's great hall. Here she received those she deemed worthy after their deaths, feasting with them and delaying their entrance into the afterlife. Though it may seem strange that the goddess of death would do this, it makes sense when you remember that Freyja wasn't only the goddess of death, but also of life and fertility. For her, death was simply a part of life, and she saw nothing wrong with celebrating both. The hall itself was described as being extremely beautiful, filled with gold, treasure, and artwork. While Odin's hall was made of wood, Freyja's was made of metal. This may not sound like a big difference, but in Norse culture, metal was seen as a symbol of wealth, strength, and durability, making it much more desirable than wood. Additionally, while Valhalla was only able to hold 500 warriors at a time, Folkvanger was massive enough to hold 2,000, though some sources say it could hold up to 4,000. That's almost double the size of any other great hall associated with the Norse gods. With such a large hall, Freyja was able to welcome many more warriors than Odin, though it's unclear if she was doing this to compete with her father or if it was purely because she liked having company. Number 3, she practiced Satyr, a dark Norse magic. Satyr was an extremely controversial topic in Norse culture. While many believed it to be a form of witchcraft, others argued that it was merely a type of poetry. The truth was likely somewhere in between, as Satyr seemed to encompass many different forms of magic, including divination, healing, weather manipulation, and even the ability to put curses on your enemies. Unfortunately, the use of Satyr came with a very negative stigma, mostly because it was primarily practiced by women. As a result, many people viewed the practice as a form of devil worship, believing that witches would summon demons or other evil entities in order to perform their spells. Even worse, practicing Satyr was seen as a sign of great disrespect towards the gods. In fact, during the Viking Age, a man who was caught practicing Satyr alongside women could be sentenced to exile or even death. Freyja, being the goddess of death, obviously didn't care about the dangers associated with cedar, as she herself was said to be one of the most powerful practitioners of the craft. She was even said to have taught some humans how to practice cedar, giving them knowledge of powerful spells that allowed them to control animals, manipulate the weather, and even see into the future. One of her most notable students was the shield maiden Clint, who used her newfound abilities to lead her people to victory against their enemies. Unfortunately, Clint was later killed by her own brother, who had been jealous of her powers. But this didn't stop Freyja from resurrecting her student, bringing her back to Folkvanger so they could feast together for eternity. Number 2. Her necklace. Brisingamen came at a price. Brisingamen is one of the most famous pieces of jewelry in Norse mythology, with its 4 compartments said to hold the very stars. The necklace was originally owned by the dwarven king Alvis, who gave it to his daughter to wear on her wedding day. However, when the goddess Freyja saw Brisingamen, she demanded that Alvis give it to her, offering to pay for it with a hefty price. Being unable to refuse the goddess, Alvis agreed to trade the necklace for Freyja's services, meaning that the goddess would have to sleep with him in order to earn it. Of course, Freyja was able to easily defeat the dwarf and take the necklace for herself without paying up. However, she didn't just keep it for herself. Instead, she shared it with her sister, Freyja, showing just how generous the goddess of death could be sometimes. While the sisters both looked beautiful in the necklace, Brisingamen held much more power than the sisters knew, as it was said to have the ability to make anyone who wore it irresistible to all living beings regardless of gender. Eventually, the necklace fell into the hands of the goddess Saga, whose beauty was so great that it caused the entire world to freeze over, as no one could look away from her. Luckily for humanity, Odin was able to rescue Brisingamen from her and return it to Freyja, where it remained until the end of the world. Number 1. She may have been a vanished war goddess. If you thought Freyja was a benevolent goddess, then this final secret will surely surprise you. Recently, academics have begun to argue that the goddess Freyja may have actually been a vanished war goddess who led the Vanir tribe during their conflicts with the Aesir. The theory claims that over time, her image was rewritten to become a goddess of love and death instead, possibly due to her association with the Vanir tribe, who were known for their fertility magic. However, this rewriting wasn't done across the board, as many texts still show Freyja leading her followers into battle and claiming the souls of fallen warriors. Either way, the theory has a lot of merit, especially considering that Freyja's original name was Ingvi, which meant battle or war. This would make sense considering that her father was the god of rain and thunder, and her brother was the god of the sun. But Freyja's true nature, as a possible vanished war goddess, isn't nearly as scary as it sounds, as academics have argued that the vanished weren't inherently evil, but rather simply represented chaos, wildness, and the untamed forces of nature. Therefore, a vanished war goddess would not necessarily be an evil deity, but rather one who valued freedom and change above all else. In fact, when the Vanir and Aesir went to war, it was Freyja who helped broker a peace treaty between them, cementing her status as a goddess of love and fertility. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed learning about the 5 dark secrets of Freyja. Do you know of any other lesser-known facts about her? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Bye.